Hi, welcome back to the video diary. Apologies, I've been a bit slack, I really have. So I'm going to get back into this now. Season's starting to pick up. It's not long till spring arrives, so they tell us. It was quite nice over the weekend, but a bit miserable today on a Monday morning. So I'm going to try and cover topics, probably a little bit more detail. People ask questions that maybe doesn't warrant a consult, but it's food for thought. So I'm going to try and break up little different things and deal with it, and also what I do on a day-to-day basis and some little issues that have cropped up and stuff like that. So this morning at the track, it was just sort of catching up on a few things on horses that had raced. Also, we've changed a couple of our stables over injectable hormones for the fillies, and so we're doing one of the bigger stables on a Monday morning, another on a Wednesday morning, so we're starting to do that there, so it takes a bit of time. Just a word of warning, with all hormones, wear gloves. I can actually absorb it through my skin, and I turn into a really grumpy, well, as some people say, grumpier vet when I get progesterone on my hands. It sends me grumpy as anything. I'd fight with my own shadow with it, but anyway. So, first topic I'm going to deal with, it's a little bit of a bigger topic, probably a little bit boring, and so maybe I apologize, but it's interesting. I get people ask me all the time, mares that are hormonal. So by that I mean, or show separation anxiety, even geldings as well. So I think it's a big topic to sort of cover in a short period of time, but I'm going to try and break it down a little bit. Some people always ask me about calming pace and stuff like that, so I'm going to touch on those as well, because I think there's a lot out there. There's a lot on the shelves. We don't sell any of it, because I just don't believe a lot of it works, to be honest. But for every time I say it doesn't work, someone will tell me that it has worked on their horse, and that's really where it comes down to. So, separation anxiety. We've got to remember, horses naturally are herd animals. So when they're with their friends, some mares and geldings can be a little bit more attached, others not so much, and it really depends on the individual. You have to then sort of play to the strengths or the weaknesses of your horse. So if you've got a horse that's very prone to being attached to other horses, it's maybe something you need to work at separating them, to make life a little bit easier. Now that can be fraught with danger, because you get some horses that get so attached to their friends they'll run through fences for it, and that's not ideal. But what I sort of say is, if you can sort of separate them by a yard, then 2 yards, and then 3 yards, and then hopefully separate them and keep them separate, that can be a good way to sort of basically break it down and try and separate them. Some mares, it can be a hormonal thing, so sometimes putting them on progesterone can really help and can reduce the symptoms that you see. Geldings, sorry, you're out of luck, they got no hormones left. We've already removed them. So colts are not, obviously usually not very sort of that way inclined. Not many people have colts running around, so not an issue to deal with. Next thing, we sort of touch on the calming pace. The best stuff, swabs. That's the simple answer. So from sedatives that we've got in a bottle, they all work really well. But they do swab, and you can't ride a horse on them. It's not something I'd advise people to be doing. Health and safety take a little bit of a dim view of it, really, not surprising. So you got to deal with that. So you look at your sort of your tryptophan based pace. Some of those can help horses, some don't. There's very little work really done on a lot of this stuff. It's quite hit and miss, so I'm not going to sort of push its use, and it's something you need to be careful of. Then you've got your magnesium based pace. Magnesium will settle a horse. It will to a degree. If they're low on magnesium, it can sort of calm them down a little bit. Whether I call it sedation, no. Sometimes you can just sort of settle them a little bit. I know with race horses, we have a condition sometimes shows it's up as called the thumps, which is diaphragmatic flutter, which means is really caused by the phrenic nerve passing across the heart, and when you've got low electrolyte levels, it's very unstable, so it can depolarize really quickly. So every time the heart beats, the diaphragm contracts, and you see it, and we call it thumps. So for a lot of those horses, we used to be able to give the day before racing magnesium and calcium drip. So anyone that's got cattle will have come across calcium drips and magnesiums. We give it that there, and I have a little bit of a story about that. I had one horse who was racing on a Saturday, and we gave it on the Friday. Well, within the at that stage within the rules of racing, we were allowed to medicate up until 24 hours before a horse raced, given an IV injection. Now we can't. It's a one clear day rule. I gave it that. The horse did run really well. It then backed up on the Thursday, so the raced again on Thursday. We gave another one on the Wednesday because we were a bit concerned, and unfortunately the reports back were, oops, I think you've sedated the horse, because the horse was exceptionally quiet at the races and was walking around with his penis a little bit relaxed. So magnesium can help those horses. It's something you've got to be careful of giving IV, because a horse can drop off a needle if you give too much, and so it is something that we really give slowly, and it's got to be careful. It's under a vet medication. So in-feed supplements of magnesium can be beneficial to sort of take the edge off those horses. And then you've got your B vitamins. Again, there's limited sort of data to sort of suggest that they do work, but they can be helpful competitions. You have to be careful of the rules of your competition. So racing, we can't administer any medications within over the tongue on the day of the race, so we can't use them. But sometimes in the pleasure horse and performance horse market, you can, depending on the rules. You need to check with your rules. Each discipline can have different rules, so those are things to consider. The ultimate how to deal with a horse that's got separation anxiety is give it a friend. Sounds simple. A little pony. You see at the races, anyone that follows racing.com will have seen the ponies of Mornington. So a lot of stables, racehorse stables, will have a travelling companion, and for some of those nervy horses, it's something you should, if the horse is suitable for your discipline and you really want the horse and you really like the horse, it may be something to consider. So in those extreme examples of horses with separation anxiety, you actually don't try and bait it, you just embrace it. The stories of horses bonding with goats, with sheep. There was a horse called Remittance Man in the UK that was a national hunt horse, so jumping horse, and he had a sheep that went everywhere with him, and he became attached to it, and he ate better, he slept better, the sheep slept in the stable, did everything together, went to the races together. And the sheep got loose one day and ran onto the course, and the horse sort of called out and basically pulled up straight off the finish line beside the sheep. So it is something you can do, that is actually embrace the fact that the horse has got separation anxiety and get a little friend for him or her and see if that helps. And that can often be a good thing. It's not often done in the performance industry. It does in the racing industry. We travelling companions all the time, whether it's a lead pony or something else. Could just be helpful. Just embrace it and go from there. So hopefully this is answered. I know there's one client sort of asked me about it, and I've been a bit slow to respond. Sorry. But I'm back, and you'll hear more issues as we come across, and I'll try and do some education posts on x-rays, what we're looking for in different joints. And someone has asked me, and I have to break it down, joint supplements. It's such a big topic. I'm going to try and break it down into a manageable level to try and talk about it. So anyway, this is a bit of a long post, so I will be back shortly, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.